Counseling Incorporated. Counseling individuals and groups of all ages. 1-866-972-1268. LSCIHelp.com.
Arkansas Early Learning prepares children up to 5 years old for kindergarten by offering a secure learning environment, qualified teachers at several locations in Northeast Arkansas at no cost. Applications are available at arearlylearning.org.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
KLEK thanks Charles and Candace Mabry and the staff of Mabry Smokehouse for their support of KLEK and dedication to the Jonesboro community. Mabry's offers Texas-style barbecue, beef brisket, pulled pork, ribs, rib tips, chicken wings, smoked sausage, barbecue fries and nachos, sides, and desserts. Located 1504 Red Wolf Boulevard, Jonesboro. Open 11 to 8, Tuesday through Thursday, Friday and Saturday. More info, Mabry Smokehouse on Facebook.
Broadcasting from the First National Bank Tower, this is KLEK-LP Jonesboro. The voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council.
Jonesboro's community radio station. Your life, your music. KLEK 102.5 FM.
Good Wednesday morning, Jonesboro. This is meteorologist Tim Root with your KLEK 102.5 forecast. Temperatures today will range from 83 to 89. It'll be partly to mostly sunny. A slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm this afternoon. Spotty showers and thunderstorms overnight in the low 70s, partly cloudy. Another chance of a shower or thunderstorm Thursday and Friday, but only about a 20-30% coverage. Partly sunny Thursday and Friday, and the high near 90 degrees. Educate, entertain, and empower. We're KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Tens of thousands of people have demonstrated across the US for an eighth night with less violence and fewer clashes than the night before. Mumbai is braced for Cyclone Nisarga, which has now made landfall in India. Germany plans to lift its travel warning for around 30 European countries on June the 15th if the continent's coronavirus situation remains stable. And a South African court has ruled some coronavirus lockdown rules in the country unconstitutional.
It's 9:02.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Wednesday. It's June 3rd, 2020. This is Community Conversations. Kato Wonder is in the studio with you. I am joined by Quabila Jones via Zoom, host of Community Conversations, and Miss Dominique Phillips, president of the Craighead County NAACP. And we also have joining us is Craighead County Judge Marvin Day and Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott. Jonesboro Mayor Harold Perrin is to join us as soon as he gets out of his next meeting, and he will join us in the studio as well. So while we're waiting on Mayor Perrin, let's go ahead and start off with Chief Elliott. And I want to just kind of hear from the chief on his thoughts of the recent days' protests, as well as some of the meetings that you've had with community stakeholders and the ongoing dialogue.
Sure. Well, essentially since the first day protest, the event went very well. The organizers, it was a young teenage lady and her brothers and mother kind of put a flyer together and sent it out on social media. And they didn't expect to get much following from it, but it did. And so they assembled at Burlington Coat Factory on Caraway and walked down the sidewalk to the police department. And it was in an orderly fashion. And got to the PD, and the group gathered around and listened to their concerns and heard what they were chanting and yelling, and then I addressed the crowd, gave my perspective on things, and let them know that I am, in fact, I hear what you're saying, I see your pain, I hear you, I'm empathetic with everything that's going on. And so there was some tempers flaring, but for the most part, everything. I think people just wanted to vent, and that's fine. That's you have built up emotions, and getting those out, and being heard is a positive thing. And as long as it's in an orderly fashion and not destructive, then the message is well received. And I think these other places, when destruction starts, it kind of takes away from the message that you're really trying to get out there. So I'm just pleased that the folks in Jonesboro that's been involved in this have done the right thing for the most part. Now, the first day the group did make it down to the overpass, and came to the point that people were starting to throw items off the top of the bridge into oncoming traffic, which potentially could cost somebody their life. So we had to step up and say, look, we're not going to tolerate that. You're going to have to clear the bridge. And we ended up making an arrest for a man that threw a bottle down, hit an officer that had a vehicle stop down on the interstate.
All right, and before I bring it to Ms. Phillips, I just want to say to you, Chief, one thing that I do want to commend you on is how the police have allowed the protests to take place, how the police have managed traffic throughout the various protests. In some other cities, the police would have likely cracked down and ran off the protesters. So,
well, it's it's kind of like I've said all along. When we work with each other, we can get things done, and this is a fine example of working together with each other. Before we get started, Dominique, I cannot praise her enough for these past few days of her leadership in these events and help coordinate, but help keeping the group together. And then she was the voice of reason, and they tend to listen to her. And she and I communicated back and forth throughout each event. And there are certain things I say, hey, appreciate it if you do this or whatever. And so it's been a good effort, and I just certainly appreciate her doing this. And while she's sitting here, I'll tell it to her face. I've told her several times, and I've bragged to everybody, the news media and everybody, that I really appreciate this young lady and what she has done. So the past few days of events, and we try to just provide enough police presence to maintain the safety for the walkers. And we don't want to be overbearing, but on the other hand, when you got people walking down the sidewalk and you got moving traffic, inevitably somebody may end up stepping out in traffic and get hit, and that would be another tragedy that you don't want on top of the ongoing everything else. So we try to block intersections when we can, but we also encourage the walkers that stay off the street as much as possible, because we do have a large traffic problem in Jonesboro, and we have to keep traffic moving. And blocking traffic is illegal, but again, we have been lax on letting people hear what they want to say, and on their march. But on the other hand, we still have to keep traffic moving, because there's other people in the city and they've got rights too, and so we want to protect everybody's right. But as these continue to go on, I would hope that they are productive, but more important, I hope that everybody just stays safe and calm and remain nonviolent.
All right, let's go ahead and get to Dominique, because I know she probably has some things that she may want to say, or some questions. If you don't, then we can go to the live feed, because we have some questions already.
Okay, well, good morning, Jonesboro. First, I would love to apologize for my voice this morning. I've been yelling since Sunday. And Chief, thank you for your recognition. Actually, I also want to point out that a lot of good people stepped up in the community this past week. Number one, DeAndre Brinkley, Deja and David Brinkley. Those are the two teenagers who actually set up the peaceful protest and actually helped communicate with the chief on making sure that everyone was safe. Chief, thank you for acknowledging that we are going through trying times and we just want to be heard.
Absolutely.
We want a seat at the table, and you offered that seat at the table, and we had it yesterday
We had
at
it
2
yesterday.
p.m.
We met it from about 2 to 4 yesterday. So, you know, as I said the other day in front of the station, that, hey, you know, the sooner we meet, the better off we are. So we did have our first meeting in a series of meetings yet to come. It started yesterday. So a good meeting, productive meeting, and I think it kind of started giving us a path how to move forward.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get into our question. If you have a question or a comment, we are joined by City of Jonesboro Communications Director Bill Kim. We're still waiting on Mayor Perrin, who should be here at any moment. But if you have a question or a comment, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080, or you can leave your questions or comments on our live feed. And our first question is an anonymous submitted question, and I'm actually posting these in the feed just so I can kind of have a centralized place to keep up with them. The city, and this is for Chief, the city only has fewer than 20 minority officers and the county has none. What efforts are they doing to recruit and hire more diversified deputies and jailers?
Well, that's a good point, and I guess if the listener had been listening in for the past 5 years, you know that we constantly advertise on KLEK, and I've had my minority officers to do PSAs for recruiting for the police department. And, you know, when I went back and pulled stats that looking at our applicants, 21% of our applicants for the past 8 years have been black. So 21.73%. And I will say that everyone that has passed all the qualifications and made it to the eligibility list has been hired. So, you know, we currently have, 6 African American males, 2 African American females, then on the reserve, 1 male, 1 female, 2 Hispanic, and 1 Island Pacific.
All right. I'm going to skip for now the next question. I want to wait for Mayor Perrin to come in. Then I'm going to ask both Mayor Perrin and Judge Day this question. So this question I'm going to forward to Dominique. It says, what solutions do and this is from Donna Matt Purier, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. This is for Dominique. What solutions do Black Lives Matter want to bring to the table? I understand the protests and the movement, but what are some of the solutions to change all of this for us to unite?
That's a very good question. First off, I cannot speak for the actual organization of Black Lives Matter with Jonesboro. I am the president of a state's NAACP. However, I can speak for the black community as a whole. The solutions start with us. The solutions also start with the people in power that are able to help us. For our community, we need to start learning, educating ourselves on the elections, educating ourselves on the laws, learning how to, knowing pretty much that different people in power help put other people in power as well. And that's how we gain our power. I've been preaching that for the past couple of days. We need to know that the mayor has the right to appoint the chief of police. We need to.
And that's something I tried to educate
Yes.
the people on during the last mayoral election, and we'll be doing it again. No, of course, we don't endorse or support a candidate, but whoever runs for that seat, whoever wins, has the option. They can retain Chief Elliott, they can fire him, and don't have to give a reason to. They can just say, "I just want to go in a different direction," and do that. So do consider that when you make your vote for mayor.
I definitely feel that our solutions need to be proactive rather than reactive. That's another way of jumping ahead of the problem. We don't need to react to it. Will wait until something like George Floyd happens or Travis Carter happens. We need to go ahead and have that seat at the table, have those conversations with the officials and the chief and the mayor, and find ways to prevent things like this from happening.
I want to ask these two questions for Chief because I think they're very important. We're going to go to Quabila, and we also have DeAndre that is on the Zoom. But Chief, this is part one. What is the protocol to apply as a reserve officer? And then two, what is the protocol to use riot gear? There are studies that show using riot gear escalates situations, and this is from Dr. Kristen Johnson. What was the decision making to use the gear on Sunday? In addition, what de-escalation strategies do you use? Are these strategies evidence-based? How often are the officers trained and retrained?
Well, protocol for riot gear, we have a mobile field force, and that mobile field force been on standby since all this began. We just kept them out of the picture. When you get to the point that you did on Sunday, when you're starting to throw things off the bridge, whatever, we have to step up, and you don't know which way the protesters are going to go with it. Are you going to remain calm, or are you going to go violent? So it's protective gear for the officers. As we've seen, bottles and rocks and things get thrown at officers, so they have a big protective shield to keep getting bit from that. They have headgear, helmets to protect their head from physical injury. They have shin guards on to protect themselves from injury. So this is personal safety protection equipment on the officers that's facing a large crowd of people that may turn hostile and may not. So that's where that ended up Sunday when people made the decisions to start throwing items off the bridge into oncoming traffic and potentially cause a serious accident or kill somebody. We're going to move people off the bridge.
And the protocol to be a reserve officer, that was the other part of the question.
I mean, reserve officer, we only take reserve applicants every few years, so the reserve unit pretty much stays at capacity, but you just have to kind of watch when we do put on reserve school. Now, there's some other reserve schools, some other agencies put on, and all you have to do is go through the curriculum to be certified as a reserve officer and then apply. But I would just say if anyone is interested in the reserve program, they can reach out to Sergeant Lyle Waterworth at the police department, and he can put his or her name down on the list. And then if some school does come up, or if we know of a school coming up that a person can go to get certified, then we'd get that information to them. But we're always looking for quality applicants, full-time and part-time. As you know, we want diversity in the department, and we strive for that, but it's challenging.
All right, Bill had raised his hand. I think he may have had something to say. Then we're going to go to Quabila and DeAndre.
I do, Lindsay. And this is the thing that I don't hear being said. What you've seen are two different actions taking place. You've got peaceful protests, and then you've got lawbreakers. If you listened to the beginning of the speech yesterday given by the people who were in charge of the protest, they said this is going to be a peaceful protest. The last guy who spoke said, if you're here to make trouble, go home. So to lump people who do things illegally in with the people who are protesting is not accurate. And America likes peaceful protest. Our police department has been there to serve and escort and help the peaceful protesters. I know Chief Elliott has spent the last 4 days planning and working to take care of people who are protesting, and even allow the people to throw slurs at him and his staff when he's worked for 5 years to try to build inroads into all communities in Jonesboro. But when, the first time I think that we saw anything with what quote unquote riot gear had to do with a man who pulled a gun, drove up and pulled a gun, and then the next time was when people were doing different things on the bridge. Let's make it clear. Those are not protesters. Those are troublemakers. Those are people who are there to incite protesters, a peaceful protest. And I think we need to separate those two conversations.
All right, let's go to Zoom now. Quabila or DeAndre, do either of you have a question or a comment? If so, please, I think DeAndre, he just unmuted. So did you have something, DeAndre?
Yes, Yes, I did. Actually, I had a question for the mayor, but
well, he's still not here yet.
But so I do have a question for Chief. Now, this is a question that we had yesterday, but I want the public to know what are some of the things that the department yourself are doing to implement different to basically make the relationship with the community better.
Well, community outreach has been my platform for the past 5 years. And as we sat in the meeting yesterday, you and your mom, weren't aware of many things that we've done out in the community. And even though we come to this radio station and put the word out, I guess there's still people in this community that's not familiar with the station. So that tells me
help spread the word about KLEK, y'all.
But absolutely, I mean that's one point. But that also tells me that beyond KLEK, getting the word out on KLEK.
Yeah, I think it's short. You pull on it.
Pull on one.
There you go.
Beyond KLEK, we utilize our social media to get the word out. Now, if the word is still not getting out through KLEK or social media, then we have to find other means to get the word out in the community. So those avenues, I'm always open for suggestions, because obviously after our conversation yesterday, when I'm hearing people that are not aware of what we have done for the past 5 years as far as community involvement, then we're lacking somewhere. So I'm certainly open for suggestions on reaching out to the community and other avenues. So thank you again. We had a good dialogue yesterday about this. So like I said, when we sit down and talk, we learn from each other, and again we found apparently a shortcoming that hey, we're not reaching out completely, but at this point, with everybody's effort, then we'll find better ways to reach out.
I think the beauty.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna see.
Okay.
We haven't heard from Quabila yet, so I didn't know if she had. Oh, she's waving her hand, so she said she good. Go ahead, Dominique.
So to piggyback off of what you said, I think the beauty in yesterday was the fact that we were all able to, on both ends, the community and the police, were able to sit and acknowledge that we can both be doing something differently. Mm-hmm. We have room for improvement.
Sure.
And when you acknowledge that, that's where growth comes.
Sure. I mean, it's not a perfect world, but our goal is to make things better than what it was or what it is. Mm-hmm. And are we going to get to perfection here in a short period of time? Absolutely not. The problem didn't start. It's been an ongoing problem, but we've all got to get together and work on a common solution to overcome some of the problems that we're facing in our community and in our country.
All right, getting ready to go into a break. When we come back, I've got a question for Judge Day about the role of what the county is doing, and hopefully Mayor Perrin will be able to join us at least for our second segment. But keep those questions and those comments going. We are joined by Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott, Craighead County Judge Marvin Day, City of Jonesboro Communication Director Bill Campbell, and our special guest host, Miss Dominique Phillips. But don't go anywhere, and the mayor is just joining us. We'll be back on the other side of the break with your questions. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Are you willing to fight for your family? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. Not everything in life is worth fighting for, but there's one thing parents are called to fight for: their family. So here are 3 common battles you must fight and win. First, fight for security. Making your family feel safe means more than just turning on the alarm system. It's about you assuring your family that they can always depend on you, no matter what. Second, fight for peace. This means being quick to forgive and resolve conflict in your home. Finally, fight for education. Make the daily decision to support your child in their academic pursuits, encouraging them to dream big. No matter how impossible the battle seems, never give up fighting for your family. Remember, your family first.
The Family Minute with Mark Merrill, keeping you relationally fit 1 minute at a time.
Made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. KNOMEGA1908.com.
Brought to you by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, dedicated to the purpose of achievement. Jonesboro Alumni at gmail.com, Jonesboro AR Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity on Facebook, and Jonesboro_Kappas on Instagram.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Dear John, uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. But when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
For help getting your high blood pressure to a healthy range, text pressure to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
I rescued Toast from a shelter in 2011. I knew right then that she was special.
That's just one adoption story that started at a shelter. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
KLEK thanks Scott Young and Andy Storage and Rentals, LLC, for helping us serve the Jonesboro community during times of need by providing a Go Mini storage trailer to collect non-perishable food items, clothing, books, and school supplies. Items can be taken to our studio, 1411 Franklin Street, Jonesboro, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Andy's offers storage units, storage, and moving containers. Details 870-897-7999.
You've heard the governor talk about it and seen it on the news. Cases of COVID-19 have risen lately in Craighead County. Currently, there are 50 active cases, but anyone can contract COVID-19. It does not discriminate. But if you have high blood pressure, cancer, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, or other lung diseases, you are more likely to have severe complications. This threat to us all is why the Arkansas Department of Health will have a drive-through testing event Saturday, June 6th from 9 to 2 at the Craighead County Health Department, located at 611 East Washington Avenue in downtown Jonesboro. The first 150 people to be tested will receive a free box lunch from Subway. The test is free and you do not need health insurance. Just make sure to bring any form of ID and the staff will take care of the paperwork for you. Everyone will be tested even if you do not have symptoms. And if you are found to be positive, guidance will be provided to help you and keep your family safe. Now is the time to take action.
It's for your safety and for others. Make sure you and your family get tested.
We are all in this together, Craighead County.
All in this together.
Juntos como una comunidad.
Let's go get tested. Let's beat COVID-19. It's free and it's good for you and your family.
See you soon, and don't forget to wear your mask.
KLEK thanks the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
Arkansas Early Learning is accepting applications right now for childcare. We have locations all across Northeast Arkansas. Applications online at arearlylearning.org. That's arearlylearning.org. Right here in the community at no cost. Arkansas Early Learning, offering kids a head start.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
We're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guests, Jonesboro Mayor Harold Perrin, Craighead County Judge Marvin Day, Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott, City of Jonesboro Communications Director Bill Campbell and our special guest host, Ms. Dominique Phillips. And now that we have Mayor Perrin in, I want to go back to some of the questions that were asked earlier. And this question actually, Judge Day, you can also answer as well. It says, I want to know from our own officials what ACE's proclamation from last night means from Jonesboro specifically. I want to know why it's so much easier to mobilize the National Guard rather than take appropriate actions to make changes for the better.
I'll jump on that one. You know, I read some information last night about that on both sides of people interested in that. So I think what that is, just it's a procedural thing the governor has to do to open up for other agencies to come in to help where they're needed, whether that's Jonesboro Police, Craighead County deputies, to go into other communities and help. So, you know, what that really means to us, not much. I mean, it's, you know, I don't think we're doing anything differently. We possibly may send some of our deputies to other areas that need help, and be supportive of those law enforcement communities. But, you know, I'm very thankful and appreciative of Dominique and all the community leaders that are providing productive avenues to let people express their concerns and their emotions in a responsible way. I appreciate what they're doing there, but our community, thankfully, you know, we're not seeing the issues of rioting, and we don't want that. You know, nobody wants that.
And Judge Davis, since you have the floor, this question is specifically for you, and it kind of piggybacks off of that, and we'll get Mayor Perrin's response. What is the county's role in supporting the community and its black citizens?
You know, that's a great question, Leganzi. You know, I would hope that we try to be a reflection of our community, and so that we are providing an avenue for them to be heard. You know, we were very supportive when the protests, they requested to come out to the courthouse lawn, and of course that's an appropriate venue, and we support that. And you know, I was out there ahead of time making sure they had what they needed, and you know, so I think that's probably the main thing. Also, you know, kind of looking at who's responsible for what. You know, we're responsible for the court system, and you know, we're trying to make sure our court system is run efficiently and safely, so that everyone gets their appropriate time in court. You know, it's something that we do.
All right, so Mayor Perrin, back to the original question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
It was the one about Governor Hutchinson's declaration of a state of emergency, and how does that affect Jonesboro?
Yeah, I think the governor has a standard procedure, a protocol that he does on anything, and what I read in the paper this morning and some of the things, and that is that he just he calls on the National Guard just to assist any of law enforcement or whatever that's out there. And that's just a standard, as he called it, a standard protocol that he does, because he is the chief of the over the National Guard. And no one, the judge or I, neither one could call those. I mean, we can request something, but he has to be the one to call the National Guard out, if you will. So that's kind of the way I read it in this morning's paper.
Okay, and
let me follow up
go
on
ahead.
one thing, Leganzi. If everybody remember when we had the tornado,
there you go.
That one of the first things that the mayor and I had to do was declare that state of emergency, and that was so that we could get state police help, we could get National Guard help, all those sort of things. So, you know, we had to do that when we were dealing with our tornado issues, and that's why the governor has to do that.
All right, so Mayor, here's another question that was earlier in the feed. It says, Mayor, there was a polling company recently hired by your campaign to ask specific questions and solicit responses regarding what you have done for the city of Jonesboro. Mayor, surveys, when used correctly, can be effective. How about surveying citizens on the needs and wants of the community? Also, do you believe there are only men leaders in Jonesboro? The pollster listed community leaders and asked for input, and was not one woman listed. And do you understand the importance of diversity and inclusion in city leadership? If so, why have you not made an effort to be inclusive?
Okay, first of all, yes, my campaign, and I am running for re-election, and I'm proud to do that. I think we've done a great job in the last 12 years, this administration. We can always do better, as I just got through telling Dominic, on anything that we do. The poll was not designed by me. What you do is you hire a pollster that does that, and they put those questions out there. And as far as living or not having a female on there or not, I mean, that's a decision that they make. It's not my decision that I made at all. The poll is simply run through the campaign and paid by the campaign, only to just look at things in the area to see what is on the people's minds and things of that nature. One of the things I think that I could gather out of that poll is that we need to listen more in any business. City is a business, and we need to listen to our citizenry and to work with them. So I was pleased, obviously pleased with the poll, and it brought out some good things that we can work on, and it will help everyone. So I'm real pleased that we were able to run the poll. Most campaigns do that, some don't. That's just a decision that my campaign people did to decide to do the poll, and so that's kind of where we're at.
All right. Before we go back to Lafayette, Dominique, did you have anything?
No, other than, well, let me add this. Judge, you said we were talking about other ways to help the minority community, and especially with the court and their efforts. I will have to say that I am interning with one of the deputy prosecutors for KLEK County, Ms. Tiara Tanner, and so I often have to visit Veterans Court. And a lot of minorities aren't a veteran, and they're having to go to Veterans Court. And the judge there, I just want to kind of brag on her. She's very encouraging, and the prosecutors are very encouraging. So I will have to say that I, for one, see the encouragement behind the scenes in the court.
Great, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, we have a lot of those specialty courts. You know, Veterans Court is not normally done in a lot of places, but that's something Craighead County has embraced for many years. Having those courts where you don't have to go to jail. If you're a veteran, you can come up with creative ways to make things right, and so we're proud of that. Thanks for bringing that up.
And I'd like to add to that, Dominic. That's a good comment you made. You know that hopefully in the next few weeks we will start building a Veterans Village on Aggie. The city was very blessed to get well over $1 million from the Arkansas Development Finance Authority to build that. And not only did we decide not to just build the Veterans Village, the 9 homes for the veterans who come here who may be homeless, need a place to stay, but we also brought in on public-private partnership. We brought in Beck Pride, Linda Nash, and several of those. So that's one of the things that I picked up on when we sat down with her to say, would this be a good fit to come into here? And that's some of the things that she talks about with these veterans. What is your needs? Is it education? Is it medical? Is it legal? And if you remember, about 3-4 months ago, we had the people from Memphis to come over and talk about that, and tell how you could do that. Here's free legal services for the veterans and stuff like that. And I was amazed at the attendance that we had there. Well, that same operation is going to be on this Veterans Village. So that's going to be a good deal for Jonesboro.
And I believe DeAndre.
Okay, I was about to go to the Zoom. So, Quabila or DeAndre, if you all have anything you'd like to add, DeAndre or Quabila. DeAndre, go ahead.
All right. So, this is a question for the county judge.
Yes, sir.
In the past, minorities have faced more severe punishment than other races for crimes that require little or no time have been inflated with more time. How can we ensure the community that a change will be made, and also what steps do you take to ensure that that isn't happening anymore?
You know, DeAndre, that's a great question. And to answer that, here's unfortunately my title is county judge, and some people think that I have something to do with the prosecution of the laws. Really my role is more of a mayor of the county, and so I provide the building and I provide the staff, but those elected judges are the ones that and those elected prosecutors are the ones that make those decisions. So, before we got on, Dominique and we were all talking about how important it is for people to understand their rights and understand how they vote. Those are important things that need to be remembered when it comes to those elections of the circuit judges and district judges and the prosecutors.
Aquabila?
Hi. Yes, I want to touch on something that Ms. Charity has mentioned in the feed, which is kind of in tune to what I was going to talk about as well. She says, if y'all are willing to listen to citizens, listen to those that are not as professional as others. Listen to those that don't dress in business clothes daily but contribute to this community. Listen to residents that have been here and deal with the force of JPD daily. With that being said, there has been a safe space for real. There has to be a safe space for real, everyday people like my family, and that's what I want to touch on. I lived in Jonesboro for 20 plus years, and I've actually been a resident of the North Side for all of those years, and so I do see people that are not what we consider professional, which I don't like the term, but that we may not consider in the upper status, have a higher status in the community based on their job or just life situation. Yeah. Anyway, I feel that those individuals are ones that, not to say they take priority over everyone else in the community, however, they may be the first place you need to start, especially like over here around the Heights. I understand crime happens and other things happen, so the police have to do their job, the city has to do their job. I understand that. It's just, again, I know, Chief, you have been working on relationships, building those bridges, and I don't know, I just want us to try to do a little bit more. And then someone else also asked a question about the police, interacting with the people, and
well,
I don't know.
Good points, and as you can look on our social media, we do interact with the people. And doing more. Well, we're always looking for opportunities to do more. We do community events. The trunk or treat, that's up north. That's been a huge success. Our national night out. Our city officials are out in the public. The mayor at one time was hosting forums in the fall for people to come in and just sit down with community officials. And ward meetings, what they were called, and open the door to sit down with the mayor and the two elected officials in that ward, so you could have these small conversations. And a lot of times in smaller groups you can get more accomplished. But on the other hand, I want to pitch it back to the community. If you have a group that would say, hey, Mayor, Chief, Judge, my church group, or I've got a group of people that's got some concerns, could we schedule a meeting? I'm always flexible and open to the idea, depending on the schedule. And I know the mayor is always glad to attend meetings. Again, he's got a busy schedule too, but we can, given enough time, we can work in a schedule where anybody can meet. So the door is open. My door has been open for 5 years, and I've been on this radio station preaching this 5 years. Folks, I am here to serve and protect you. I work for you day in and day out. My people work for you day in and day out. We want you to embrace what we do. We don't want any kind of confrontation or friction. We don't want animosity in our community. And as we get out and my officers get out and interact with the community, it eases tensions. So we're open for suggestions. If you have an event idea that we could do, that's great. We'll take it and go with it. Just like the trunk or treat, that was a brainstorm of one of my officers. The Copsicle program, that's, when you get people to thinking about things like that, then the ideas come forward.
Chief,
So-
I want to also add to, and yesterday in our meeting we talked about, and Officer Tommy Norman came up as an example. He is the face for the North Little Rock Police, and again, I am from Little Rock, so I've been blessed with opportunities to actually meet him, and I grew up with Officer Norman, and he has been a figure for the community. However, we also talked about we can have a face for the police, and we can have a reputation or see initiatives by the police, but what really matters is those small interactions, the traffic stops. How are the officers' attitudes when they talk to us? Are they personable? Are they asking how our day is going? And we understand that, and you brought up good points, that the police, that officer that gave me that stopped me in traffic might have just witnessed something horrific, and so they're still going and trying to register that, and their feelings might reflect, and they might take it out on us. But also, we have to hold the officers accountable.
We do, and you know, we're humans, and we see a lot of. Most of what we see, people are having a bad day. When you call the police, you're having a bad day. You either had a wreck, your house been broken to, your business been broken to, or something physically has happened to you. You know, so we deal with tragic things every day, and when you get on tragic scenes, you know, sometimes it takes an emotional effect on the officer. So therefore, if you're stopped right after that, the officer may not be smiling, may not be cheerful, whatever. Now, to you as a citizen sitting in the car, you're saying this officer's kind of rude or whatever. Now, I'm not saying with these actions I'm not condoning them, but I try to stress to my officers, hey, if you're in that state of mind, then avoid traffic stops until you can, you know, get out of that state of mind. We want our encounters with the public to be pleasant and as possible. So you got to realize, when you look at the numbers, we deal with the public well over 100,000 times a year.
Let me go ahead and get into this because we only got 2.5 minutes. I want to definitely get to this one because this is going to be for Mayor Perrin and for Judge Day. Says both the city and the county have yet to give a full address to the entire community beyond KLEK about the issue of racism and police brutality. Neither have yet to fully condemn these practices to the community as a whole. Why is that? What is the purpose of solely speaking to black people on racial incidents? We're already fully aware of the problem and have been actively combating for centuries. If real change is to take place, why not address the issue among the entire community, which is where the problem exists?
I want to answer that first, Angie, because I'm the communications director, and I want to say, first of all, we have gone to KAIT, we have gone to the Sun, we have gone to KJNB, we have gone to our social media and broadcast the protests and vocally confirmed that the city of Jonesboro stands behind these protesters, and the police department of Jonesboro and Craighead County have all protected the rights of the protesters and their safety throughout this whole thing. So if I take that a little personally, I'm sorry, but I disagree with the foundation of that question. So I'll leave it now to the mayor and the judge.
I've got about 1.5 minutes for your response.
I'd be glad to answer that. First of all, again, if you remember, I called you, or I think Bill called you Saturday, and we started right here in this station. And I talked about the feelings of what you just talked about. And right after that, then we did a KAIT show, and then, of course, obviously with the Sun in the paper, it couldn't come out because I think that was on Sunday, so you don't have a Monday paper, so it didn't come out till Tuesday. But we very much made it clear, I did, that, hey, I'm behind, and I understand that people are hurting in the situation. I couldn't even actually watch the video. I think I stated that here actually on that Saturday, and I wanted to do anything that I possibly could to do that, and met with the chief, and of course we did the show on that.
All right, Mayor, we're gonna have to get ready to go into a break. Is there any way we can get you guys to stay for another 30 minutes? Because we still got a lot of questions to go to.
I have no problem, because I've got something I want to share with the whole people in the community.
What about you, Judge Day?
Yeah, I think I can.
Chief?
Sure.
All right, so we're gonna extend this, but we're gonna get ready to go into our next break, and we'll come back, and so this will be an extended community conversation. Don't go anywhere, y'all. We'll be back. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. Today, I'm talking about bonds. When you buy a stock, you're buying a share of ownership in a company. When you buy a bond, you're actually making a loan that they have to pay you back on a specific future date called the maturity date. In the meantime, you receive interest payments as the bond owner. Bonds are considered a safer alternative to stocks because the return on investments are generally more stable and predictable. Another difference between stocks and bonds is that bonds can be sold by both private companies and government agencies. Corporate bonds are used by companies to borrow capital. Municipal bonds are issued by state, local, or city governments to finance projects like building schools. These are just the basics about bonds. Celebrate Financial Literacy Month by reading books like Bond Investing for Dummies and visiting financial websites such as blackenterprise.com. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, focused on joy in our sisterhood, power in our voice, and service in our hearts. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
Money Matters is brought to you by the Guide Right Jonesboro Kappa League, a nonprofit organization that guides young men to a life of achievement. Kappa League Jonesboro on Facebook, Jonesboro_Kappa League on Instagram, and JonesboroKappaLeague@gmail.com.
KLEK is a nonprofit community radio station and has to rely on the support of listeners like you to continue to give a voice to the community. For the cost of a meal for two, just $20 a month would go a long way to ensure you will get the music and information you need. Please take a moment and fund your support to KLEK. Every donation will help us continue this radio station, giving local people a voice on the airwaves. Our goal is to get 100 new donors. Please consider donating. No donation is too small. Learn more at klekfm.org. This portion of KLEK programming can be made possible by your business. Your support will help in educating, entertaining, and empowering the community by supporting local talent, serving the community you love, and providing information on issues you care about from a different perspective. Call 870-203-9951 or visit klekfm.org to learn how we can help connect you more with the community.
KLEK 102.5 FM salutes small businesses. Small businesses promote local character and success, keeping money in the local economy, local jobs, entrepreneurship, community well-being, and so much more. Contact us today to learn more on how your small business could be featured on KLEK for as little as $25 per month. Shout out to Sonia Sanders Realtor, there for you whether buying or selling a home. Listings and other information is available at soldinjonesboro.com. Sonia Sanders Realtor on Facebook, 870-275-8712. Shout out to Always and Forever Grooming, offering baths, nails, and haircuts for dogs. 3704 South Caraway Road, Suite 2, Jonesboro, 870-520-0925.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guests, Jonesboro Mayor Harold Perrin, Craighead County Judge Marvin Day, Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott, City of Communications Director Bill Kimball, and our special guest host, Ms. Dominique Fields. Dominique said that she had a couple questions that have come into her. We will be extending this show. We will be going to about 10:30, so we're still going to try to get an opportunity to get as many questions as we can.
Okay, so this first question is from Jason King, and he's on Facebook Live.
And thank you, because I was looking for that question, but
Mhm.
for some reason on mine, some of the questions are disappearing. So thank you that it's showing up on yours.
Well, I screenshotted them.
Okay.
Will the officers be charged with assault and arrest for our peaceful protest that happened on yesterday? Your officers broke a young man's arm and glasses that was peacefully protesting using his rights. So could you kind of just shed a little light on that situation?
Well, the other side of the story is the young man was asked to step out of the road and became belligerent. And when you get to the point of disorderly, then when you're told you're under arrest and you take off running, when he was subdued, he hurt his arm. So that's part of the arrest.
Okay. Also, I have a question. The gentleman with the rifle, and was it a rifle or it was a?
It was actually a handgun.
It was a handgun.
It had like a stock on it.
Okay.
So it made it look like a rifle.
Okay. What is can you update us on that? Is he still in county? There's been questions. Some people are saying that he's been released.
Well, it's like, as you know, working in the prosecutor's office,
Mhm.
everybody's entitled to have a bond set, and if they can make bond, they can get out. At this moment, I don't know if he's made bond or not. That's something the county jail could.
Let me do some texting. I'll find out.
Okay. And so, guys, we're going to find out about that.
His legal right is, just like everybody else, you're entitled to get a bond, and if he posts bond, and then so be it. Then, as you know, working in the prosecutor's office, it being a felony charge, it's several months before these things are disposed of in court. Due to the court docket the way it is, you're looking at months down the road to get it to trial.
Yeah, he bonded out.
He did bond out. So, guys, he is out of the county jail. And do you know anything about his court date?
I do not.
Okay.
This may not be the forum to discuss that, since we're talking about a person's legal situation. So, if you want more information about that, talk to these officials off air about that. But I want to bring this question to the mayor because it's actually been asked by a couple different people. Do you understand the importance of diversity and inclusion in seated leadership? If so, why have you not made an effort to be inclusive? And then bringing it back to the chat, someone brought up something that's similar that said, what are you going to do to diversify leadership in Jonesboro? And Bill, you can also chime in if you want to as well.
That's fine. I'll be glad to answer that. Leganzi, as far as diversification, and somebody had mentioned about department heads, things of that nature, and I think we've done a good job, but we can always improve on that dramatically. And I've talked to our HR department about that yesterday, and also I had a good visit yesterday, and this is what I want to get across today, which I think is going to be good for the city. And I met with Kelly Dampus and visited with him by phone for a great deal of time. I discussed his article, which again was reprinted off of social media in today's paper, which I thought the timing was perfect on that. And so I said, look, I need some help, and anytime that somebody needs help, I think that's good. It shows that you're trying, and it shows also that you know that you might need some assistance in certain things. I don't know all things. No one does that. And only one man that knew that, and we know who that is, or was. But this Thursday, which will be tomorrow, in visiting with Dr. Dampus, and we had a long, lengthy dialogue. This Thursday, I'm meeting with to work on a committee of inclusion and cross-cultural engagement. I'm meeting with Dr. Maurice Gibson, who is the Vice Chancellor of Diversity and Community Involvement, as well as Dr. Sharice Jones Branch, which I have talked to and visited with on some other occasions. She thanked me for a little note that I sent her when she became the Dean of the graduate school. So I think that dialogue will start tomorrow at 1:30, and we're going to talk about how we could have this committee and what this committee's goals are and what it should try to cover to be highly successful for the same thing here. And again, I like the word of diversity and community involvement. So it takes both of those. So I'm real pleased that they've agreed to meet with me on that, and I'll be sharing that with you all just as soon as we meet with them.
Well, Mayor, I just want to say this as we go to a break. You mentioned Dr. Danforth. Dr. Danforth's cabinet is very diverse with Dr. Gibson, Dr. Lonnie Williams,
Right.
Dr. Brian Terry, Terry Mahajer. So,
Right.
you have minorities represented on his cabinet. I think what the community wants to see is the same level of diversity coming from the department heads and the top officials in your cabinet. We're going to get ready to leave it there. We'll be back right after station identification. Your news and weather don't go anywhere. Back with an extended version of Community Conversations. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
Broadcasting from the First National Bank Tower, this is KLEK-LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council.
Jonesboro's community radio station. Your life, your music. KLEK 102.5 FM.
Good Wednesday morning, Jonesboro. This is meteorologist Tim Root with your KLEK 102.5 forecast. Temperatures today will range from 83 to 89. It'll be partly to mostly sunny. A slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm this afternoon. Spotty showers and thunderstorms overnight in the low 70s, partly cloudy. Another chance of a shower or thunderstorm Thursday and Friday, but only about a 20-30% coverage. Partly sunny Thursday and Friday, and the high near 90 degrees. Educate, entertain, and empower. We're KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Tens of thousands of people have demonstrated across the US for an eighth night with less violence and fewer clashes than the night before. Mumbai is braced for Cyclone Nisarga, which has now made landfall in India. Germany plans to lift its travel warning for around 30 European countries on June the 15th if the continent's coronavirus situation remains stable. And a South African court has ruled some coronavirus lockdown rules in the country unconstitutional.
It's 10:01. KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guests, Jonesboro Mayor Harold Perrin, Craighead County Judge Marvin Day, Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott, City of Communications Director Bill Campbell, our special guest host, Ms. Dominique Phillips. Of course, on the other side of the break, we were asking Mayor Perrin questions about diversity that have come from our live feed. We just had another anonymous question that come in. Of course, you can post your questions, 870-277-1080 to call in. You can post them on our Facebook live feed, or you can inbox them to us on our Facebook as well. And this question, Mayor, hold on. It says, I had sent a comment for the council meeting, but they freaked out because they thought protesters would come to the municipal building and cut the meeting short. They ended up with police escorts to leave, but I don't think there were actually any protesters spotted. Why was there such a rush?
That's wrong.
That's wrong.
Okay, well, we're asking the question that the community puts out, so we'll give you an opportunity to respond.
I think that's good, but let me tell you this: that meeting was not rushed. There were no agendas left off. We discussed that whole thing. And then when we left, we left. So, I mean, you can go back and look at the video and the recording. So there's nothing mentioned about anything on that.
All right. Bill, did you have anything to add to that?
No, but I did want to add to the previous comment about the diversity of the directors and department heads. And, when we talked with you Saturday, we mentioned the changing demographic of Jonesboro through the years, and I think through all the administrations prior, you know, Jonesboro simply, let's be honest, Jonesboro simply has not had the transition that a lot of cities in the South have had through the years, because we're out of the Delta, we're on a ridge. This has been a historically Anglo-American community, white community. So now we need to look more like the community itself in our leadership. Mayor Perrin has hired minority people. He has continued with a philosophy of hire the best person. What we have not done well enough is create a program to recruit diversity. And in other places I've lived and worked, that has been a priority of HR departments, of the leadership, but it has to be a priority, because it's a fair, I think, and the mayor has said it too, it's a fair argument that our leadership does not currently reflect the diversity of Jonesboro. Right. And I think that is going to, this is a fair criticism that he intends to prioritize. Am I right, Mayor?
That's correct. And
Judge Day, you had raised your hand on the.
No, Corbella.
Corbella raised her hand. I'm sorry.
Your attention.
I'm trying to go through these comments. Well, go ahead and finish, Bill.
No, I was letting the mayor tell you about what he had to say, but I was kind of just making the point, just to be blunt and fair about it.
All right, Mayor.
Well, I'm just going to say that what Bill said is correct in the fact that when you know that you are not doing things in the right way or whatever, then the best thing you can do is say you're right. And so we've admitted that there's always criticism for anything, and that's exactly why that I reached out to Kelly Dampas and I can't wait to meet with Dr. Branch, if you will, and Dr. Gibson tomorrow. And so I think that's great. And so we'll have more coming to you all as soon as I get through meeting with them.
All right, and Quabila had her hand raised, so we're going to go to Quabila now.
Okay, first I want to say, I know this platform is different. We would definitely need another, not necessarily a segment, another layout of virtual town hall. However, that's not my question. My question, I guess, to the mayor and Mr. Bill, again, I've lived here in Jonesboro over 20 years, and I've seen the rise and fall in difference on the north side. Not necessarily just the north side, all of Jonesboro. And so my main statement is, and I brought this up last year during the city council elections when I interviewed each candidate, and I talked about gentrification. I know that's a word we don't like to talk about and like to use, but we cannot ignore that it's happening. And so to the mayor, I know you can't control completely the developments that happen within the city, but have you taken into consideration what you can do or your staff can do to ensure that the needs of the people are being met and they're not being pushed out one way or the other? I know there's some apartment developments that are not necessarily affordable for the people that actually live over here, that started living over here, and they're forced to move other places or settle for subpar housing. Piggyback off of that, how will you hold maybe landlords accountable for the housing, the quality of the housing that's available also?
Well, let me see. I think that's kind of a multiple question, and I want to make sure I get it clear. In North Jonesboro, since I've been mayor in the last 12 years, I have spent a great deal of time in North Jonesboro. And one of the things that people came to me about, probably my second or third year, was, hey, we don't have a dry cleaning. We don't have these things in North Jonesboro. We'll get to housing in just a minute, but I just want to make sure I get this clear. So I started working very hard to do that, and was able to get a developer to put the Bill and Jerry's there, to put a new school there right next to that. Dr. Kim Wilbanks was highly excited about that. Also, we have spent a great deal of money. In fact, I pulled the figures yesterday. We have spent over, in the last 12 years, a little over $2.5 million in North Jonesboro. And it's been tied to the school, it's been tied to sidewalks, it's been tied to streets. And also, we have looked in that area of other economic opportunities. And so we're still doing that now as we're going forward. Now, on the housing part of that, I think you've got Jura, which has a lot of the houses in that area, if I'm not mistaken. And then you've got a lot of apartments that have been put up probably in the last 5 to 6 years, many apartments over there. And so,
They're private.
Pardon me?
It's private.
It is private
We have no
because
control
these,
over it.
that's correct. The developers come in from out of town and they get a contract, and if they get get a HUD contract to have an automatic money coming in there, is what they'll do is they'll develop those areas, and what I have found out, and then eventually they hold them for so many months or years, and they flip those deals, and that's the problem, is when you flip those, then you don't have anybody keeping those apartments up, taking care of the people and of that. So I have talked to several people about that, and we're going to get on top of that. But answer your question, as far as affordability of those houses in those areas, I've seen a lot of them. In fact, we've got two that's sitting down there now that's not even hooked up to electricity next to Parker Park. I've asked code enforcement to get a hold of and find out who owns those to see if we can't get those houses and get those fixed up for someone to live in. So we've done a great deal, I think, in that area. But again, as I said before, there's always room for improvement. Irregardless of who your mayor is, it's always room for improvement. And I have always been one, I can assure you, to look and to listen and to do everything I possibly can with my connections on the state and federal level to try to get grant money to do everything we can there. Let me give an example. It scared me to death when I saw those students living in alternative school and going down through there. And we spent several $1,000s to build a retaining wall and re-widen that street because those school buses was going right by those students. And now we've got probably over a $500,000 project on Patrick Street on sidewalks and things of that nature. So we've definitely listened and done everything we can as we can do it. But I appreciate your question. I will dig in more on the availability and affordability of the housing there. In fact, I can call Sharon Poe and get those statistics for you and share those with you of how many units are vacant or how many are open, what is the rent per month on those, because a lot of those apartments are subsidized by the federal government. Now, when that money comes from HUD, they have the right to come in and inspect those, and they can shut those down if they're not running those properly. And so, very good question. Very good question.
But you do have a private developer that has gone up in the North Jonesboro and has put in several duplexes. And if he is solely building and funding and not using government subsidies, then he is certainly welcome to put the price tag for rent. That's up to him. It's his dollars invested. That's a private deal. So I'm not sure how many of those apartments are just leased out individually as versus to being subsidized, but we have seen a large amount of structures torn down and rebuilt in North Jonesboro, especially the Bridge Street area, and the landscape up there has made a huge turnaround in the past 5 years and is looking quite well. And it's good to see that the people that have lived there all their lives, it's good to see that their community, their neighborhood, is having regrowth, and people are starting to take care of their properties and things like that. So that's the encouraging aspect of that is there is been change and a positive change, and it's good. Even our crime stats in those areas have dropped considerable.
There's a question on Facebook Live from Lisa Milton Jackson. Mr. Campbell, I heard you say this last week. I grew up here. There were black people here then, and many of those same families are still here, and the population has grown much larger in the past 50 years. I disagree with your analysis of Jonesboro's demographics. Does the minority population have to become the majority population before they have a voice in the government? It's been 50 years.
Absolutely not, and that's not really what I said. I was talking about statistics, facts and statistics. Now, I understand, obviously, there have been African American communities here in the past, and they deserve, don't have to say they deserved every opportunity, every right that they have been denied. And so, no, I'm not disagreeing with the fact that there have been African American people in Jonesboro. I'm saying that they were not in leadership positions. I'm saying you want your staff, you want your leadership to be reflective of the community. I think we have been reflective of a community a decade or two old. I think we're a decade or two behind being reflective of the African American community. And I think that is what we're trying to own and resolve right now. And I love that the mayor went to the university. Universities make cities so much better. They make cities so much more diverse. They make cities so much cooler. And they're educators. They have studied this. They are the people who lead. You know, the city is in the trenches trying to serve everyone at the same time. And you know, you talked about, and these are things that sometimes we don't promote because it looks like you're pandering, but you know there was a shooting a couple weeks ago in Northside Park, and what we didn't put on Facebook because we don't want to look patronizing is that the mayor and Chief Elliott, sat down with a lady whose home was near that. She was an innocent, sweet little lady who was scared by what went on, and she wanted to know what the city can do to help. They met with her for well over an hour to try to talk to her and come up with some thoughts, some ideas, and plus tell her to contact them anytime she sees something that's not safe. That's anecdotal, and it's one thing, and it's not the solution to all of our problems, but it is proof of the heart and the character of the leaders that you have in your city.
All right, and I believe we just had a anonymous just come in. It says, so get this, I just went to Harbor Freight to buy a bullhorn from donations I still have, and she said the police came and bought them all ready. Chief, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I bought 2 yesterday. Because the one I had, Dominique has.
All righty.
I'm sorry. I'm going to give that back. I promise. I'm going to give that back to you.
There may be a time that I need a bullhorn, and I gave our bullhorn to her to help lead, guide, direct the protest of the past few days. So, you know, if the time needs, I need something, then I had to go buy what they had. You know, I need a couple.
I guess not a lot
I will
around.
return that
Kabila, DeAndre, did you have anything?
I did.
All right, let's go with DeAndre.
This question is for the mayor. What are the things that you have set forth to directly intervene with our community yourself? Like, you know, what programs do you have set forth to where we can see you personally?
Well, first of all, I think the chief mentioned that a while ago, and it's a good question. I started as mayor when I first came in 12 years ago on the ward meetings, and because of COVID, we couldn't do it this year. But as soon as we get that cleared, we're going to go back to that. Also, Kelly Davis and I talked, and he had mentioned about his virtual deal of if COVID is still with us, and I'm thinking it's going to be for a while, to do virtual meetings or whatever. But my door is always open to sit down and visit with that, and then also have town hall meetings and whatever we need to do to discuss these things.
Well, and Mayor, let me just break in right quick.
Sure.
In fact, this is for everyone at the table. Would everyone at this table be open to a virtual town hall hosted by KLEK in the next couple weeks?
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got it, Judge Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we got everybody on the record. So we will. So Quabila will put that, and Dominic will work to put that together, and we'll get more info.
I mean, as always, anytime you want to have a community conversation,
well, Chief, I don't have to ask you.
We've shown up. You know, it's
right.
I do my schedule, but you know, if there's something in the middle of the month that comes up, you know, my door is, I always come down here and be glad to address the issue, and you know, and this is no issue. You know. All of us sitting here want resolution. We want some of these problems solved. We all want to work together in doing so. So, you know, whatever it takes. If we have to move scheduling around, whatever, but, you know, we're going to make it happen.
All right, Mayor, this is an anonymous one that came into our inbox. So, Chief Elliott has been present at protests. He has spoken out on protests. However, your lack of presence is telling. What would you say as to why you have not been at the protest?
Well, first of all, let me say that, and that's a good question, and I want to get that cleared up. I felt like that the protest that was for the people, so the people could to talk, to hear, and to and speak very clear of what their issues are, how they're feeling on that. And most of those would be directed to the chief. And I felt like if I had been there, then there might have been some distraction and reduce that platform so the people really would not have the time or whatever to discuss their main issues on that. So that's the reason that I have not been at those two.
Will you attend a future protest?
If there is a protest that we need to be there and I'll be there, I would be happy. That's not an issue at all.
Understand, Legansy, that there are protests about things very commonly. This is not a new experience for us or for the police department. There are protests and marches around Jonesboro for various topics for people who are feel that their rights need to be heard. So that we have understood that this is a hot topic around the country right now, and it did draw a big crowd. But I think you got to give some props to the city, the police department, the sheriff's department, the county. I think you've got to say that we've done this better than a whole lot of cities around the United States, and I think that's a credit to our city leadership and our leadership in the actual protest, because like I said, separate the protesters from the bad actors. That's two different subjects and two different people with different motivations.
All right, let's go to DeAndre. Q said DeAndre had something.
Hey, this question is for the chief and the mayor. I mean, I guess y'all can coordinate, but are there any schedules, like printed out for, the town hall meetings, virtual meetings, and if not, is that something that y'all can coordinate and, get together for?
That's exactly what we just talked about. Are we willing to have town hall meetings, whatever? So, I mean, we just had that conversation a minute ago. So, as we here collectively, your input or whoever's input, get those schedules put together, then we will get them out. But there's nothing slated other than the fact that our group that we met yesterday have agreed to meet twice a month. So that's our start. And appreciate you and your family on that, and Dominique and the pastors that are involved. So we have made a start. And as far as anything town hall, again, it's just about getting a time and a place and a date, and we'll get it out there.
Mayor Perrin, there is a question on Facebook Live, and two viewers actually said, how can Mayor Perrin say he believes his presence will be a distraction? That's actually what we wanted. We wanted you to come out.
We got 2.5 minutes, so make it quick.
Okay.
So,
and the other part is, if you believe Black Lives Matter, why would you not march along the protesters? So answer those two, and that'll take us out.
Well, again, I can only tell you how I feel, and I felt like, and I came in here Saturday, as I said before, and I just felt like that in this deal that I didn't want to distract or take away from any time or anything of that. Now, if people are saying, well, they felt like I should be there, or that they wanted me to be there to answer questions or whatever, as I said before, I'll be happy to be at the next one. But at this one, I just felt like on that one on Sunday that I don't want to take away from that, and I'd like to read in just a minute here, and I don't know if y'all had a chance or not. Have y'all seen the statement that President Clinton did on the death of George Floyd?
No,
we have not.
It to me, it breaks out everything that we're here today for and what we're talking about. And if you've got just a second, I can read this fairly quickly. Okay. It says that 50 years ago, Dr. King dreamed of a day when his 4 children would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Today, that dream seems even more out of reach, and we'll never reach it if we keep treating people of color and the unspoken assumption that they are less human. We need to see each other as equally deserving of life, liberty, respect, equality, dignity, and all assumptions of innocence. And he closes by saying, which I really liked, is that he said, we can't honestly answer these questions in the divide and conquer, us versus them. You can't shift the blame. You can't shrink the responsibility where we're living in this world today. People with power should go first, answer the questions, explain exactly who is us, and shrink those who are them, accept some blame, and assume some responsibility. That is what I have done today in this show. I have told you that on the recruiting of that of department heads, we've done that in the past. Currently, that percentage is not there. We're certainly going to work on that, and that's exactly why I reached out to people who have a PhD degree, who understands that, and I'm very pleased that I think a lot of things will come out of that meeting tomorrow with Dr. Gibson and Dr. Brooks.
All right, and Mayor, and just on the heels of that, we just had another question come into our inbox that I think that may relate to that. It says, your former parks director was suspended for 2 weeks for making comments about Black Lives Matter a couple years ago, but now he is back on the committee for the shooting range. How does that assure the black community?
Okay. Well, first of all, he applied for that, and many people have. He is an avid shooter and done a lot of things in that, and because this will be on the direction of the parks, that would be a good thing for that committee, but also it's more importantly on the fundraising efforts for private money that's going to go out there. He did a lot of that when he was Parks Director before his statement was made. So again, as far as I can't get into the details of the other because you know what happened there. But again, I think that he will serve well on the committee, and I think that he's had a lot of remorse, and I think he's had a lot of things that he's had to take on his own shoulders because of those comments that were made.
All right, I'm going to give Judge Day and Chief Elliott also an opportunity, just if any final comments that they may want to say. So we'll start with Judge Day.
Sure. I guess, Leganzi, I just want to start off and say thank you for inviting us to come in and be a part of the conversation, because that's really what's going to make a change happen, is people getting together and trying to understand everybody's perspective. Yeah. I know you and I had a great conversation about your feelings and what it feels like to be a black man in our community, and I appreciate you sharing that with me yesterday. We're hearing what's going on, and we understand, and we're supportive of what's going on there. My heart hurts for the situation that happened. I appreciate the people that are out doing peaceful protests and trying to raise awareness and understanding. So thank you for that. Those that have alternate plans of looting and rioting, I wish you'd rethink that position. It's not needed and not welcome. So, but very thankful for the people organizing the events. We appreciate what you're doing.
All right, Chief.
Well, again, I'll go back to our show this morning and just go back to the chapter in Romans, and says, just be devoted to one another in brotherly love. We are all one brother through Christ. So we need to keep that in mind as we move forward as a community, that in order to move forward and to heal, we need to go to the power of prayer and to the Lord and seek His wisdom and guidance in this process, in this healing process. And it is with His hand that will help heal our nation and heal our community. So I'd like to again thank the community for their involvement in the past few days, and the fact that it has been peaceful, and Jonesboro has set the example across the nation that we can in fact have a peaceful protest that we can hear, we can see the pain that the folks are having, and we want to move forward. But we are setting the example in Jonesboro, and I want to continue that trend, and as the protests go forward, that we not have any incidents of violence, so the message can be heard across our country, and it's stay positive without any negativity tied to it. So thank you all, and just bless this country and bless Jonesboro.
And thank each and every one of you for taking the time to come today. Thank you, Dominique, for helping Quabila and I out with the co-hosting, and of course, you heard these gentlemen. They did agree to the virtual forum, and so Dominique and Quabila will work on getting that together. It'll be a Zoom forum. We'll invite some people to join in, and we'll broadcast it live on Facebook, and we will keep this dialogue and discussion going. And of course, this is all Gospel Wednesday, so let's get into some great gospel music. And you guys have a great and blessed day. This is Kate.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very
102.5
much.
FM.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.